Don't just live for tomorrow, or just live in yesterday. Just be glad for all you have that's in today.
Hey everyone, Connie here, and we have made it. This is the Volume 7 finale, Chapter 13 of RWBY. And I'm sad. Not because of what's going on in the series, I'll talk about that in a moment. I'm sad because we're at the end of another volume. It's like these volumes just go by so quickly, and it's like, I wish there was more. Because I love RWBY so much. It's one of my favorite shows. But at the same time, the fact that it does go by quickly just shows how much I'm enjoying it. The fact that I do wish there could be more just shows how much I love the show. So it's like, it's not a bad thing by any means. It's a good thing that I'm enjoying it this much. But we'll have to see. We'll have to see how this finale leaves me feeling, because shit's been going down. While Watts was presumably captured and imprisoned, Tyrion was also on his way to prison. But shit kind of broke out because of Ironwood kind of losing his mind, his sense of rational thinking. He has declared that they are going to abandon Mantle, that they're going to declare martial law, abandon Mantle, and fly Atlas up into the clouds, kind of replacing Amity Tower in that plan. He's also, since Teams Ruby and Junior and all that, or Orange if you want to include Oscar in that, since they're refusing to cooperate, and rightly so, he's also declaring that they will be arrested until after this is all enacted. So we see the Aesops try to take them down, but they managed last episode to defeat the Aesops. And I feel like some people were probably disappointed by that, to be honest, because I feel some people were feeling that the Aesops, because they are the Aesops, shouldn't have been defeated by Team RWBY and all of that. But at the same time, I heavily disagree, because as it says in the episode, the Aesops trained Team RWBY. Not to mention Team RWBY, as we know, have a just natural affinity for combat. So, plus they've experienced a lot of things that, honestly, I don't think the Aesops have even experienced, to be honest. So honestly, it just felt like there was no other way that could have ended. The Team RWBY had to win. Not only from a story perspective, but from a logic perspective, in my eyes. But yeah, it's just like, so Team RWBY defeated them. They didn't kill them or even hurt them that bad. They knocked them out and helped get them to a safer position and stuff before heading out. But Clover, who wasn't with them, Clover was helping transport Tyrion along with Crow and Robin. After the orders came in, Robin kind of started shit, let's be honest, on the ship. Kind of gotten all aggressive, which Robin does tend to do, as we've seen. And this big old thing started. Tyrion kind of caused the ship to crash. And then Tyrion, Clover, and Crow all got into a big old fight afterwards. Which ended, as you saw, with Clover's death at the hands of Tyrion, who used Crow's sword so he could frame Crow. And we saw how Crow was affected because he had grown to become, at the very least, become good friends with Clover. But let's be honest, Clover's death was partially at fault from Crow. Crow had started to work with Tyrion during the fight. Like, actively work with him against Clover, which was a stupid move. And while Clover wasn't exactly helping matters, it just, everything went to shit because Clover and Crow couldn't just work together to take down Tyrion first. Like, seriously. But either way, working with Tyrion was a stupid decision no matter how you look at it. So Clover's dead. Crow's probably going to be arrested. Meanwhile, Penny and Winter were sent to the Maiden because Winter is basically being ordered by Ironwood to transfer the Maiden's aura to her using that same machine that we saw in Volume 3 that was going to transfer the Maiden aura to Pyrrha. However, just like last time, Cinder interrupts. It's almost like it's almost like it's joking about what happened back then by doing it again. It's like, oh, we're just going to repeat the same thing. And some people are probably going to use that as like a reason why RWBY's shit now, like they're just repeating the same thing. But I think it's actually really funny and really a clever way to handle that all. So we see Penny and Winter are going to fight off Cinder. Meanwhile, Neo has disguised herself as Oscar, but the real Oscar decked her shit, which was awesome. And now the rest of Team Orange are there to help fight off Neo, so I'm not sure where that's going to go. This is the final episode of the volume, though. We do have to take that into account. So we have to figure out a lot of this. We have to close out a lot of this. Now, I believe I said it before, but I'm saying it again. I do believe that we are not done with this arc. That this is going to continue into the next volume. And that we are going to probably leave this volume off on a big cliffhanger. I don't know what it's going to be, but it's probably going to be big. Because there's no way they can close everything out. The things I feel need to be figured out by the end of this is the Maiden. I feel like we need to find out what's going to happen with that. In which case, I still think the best option would not to be give it to Cinder, because I really think that would be a stupid choice. Honestly, Winter getting it would make the most sense at this point. We also have to figure out, like, either how to stop Ironwood, or at least halt his plans for the time being. And the one last thing that I still want to see by the end of this volume is Ozpin's return. Because I've said it at the beginning of this volume, this is the volume we need to see it happen at. He was gone pretty much the entire volume in Volume 6. Because it was like, what, episode 3, I want to say, when he disappeared after the entire story and everything. So yeah, he was gone pretty much all of Volume 6, and I said that they shouldn't hold this off too long, because then it will just feel like it's dragging on a bit too much. So that they would need to have him come back at some point during this volume. I mean, we had a brief moment of him coming back at the end of Volume 6, but I'm talking actually coming back. And I think that this would be a good point to do it at the end of this volume. I don't know if that's going to happen, but it should. Otherwise, I think that they will be holding it off too long unless they brought him back at the very beginning of Volume 8. I don't know. But I think that should be another thing that is resolved here. As for the entire thing with Salem coming, that definitely can't be resolved here, that for obvious reasons. I don't think it should resolve everything with Ironwood. I don't think he should just turn around and regret everything just instantly in this episode. I think the fact that he has gone so far off the deep end needs to continue for a little longer into next volume. But it's certain things should be closed out here. Certain things should be just finished in terms of their natural progression. So yeah, I don't know anything about what's going to happen in this, because I really kept away from the spoilers with this one. I do not want to be spoiled on the finale of a RWBY volume. After Volume 3 happened, I never want to be spoiled. And I'm not saying I was spoiled on Volume 3. I'm just saying I never want to be spoiled if that kind of stuff's the possibility. Now, another thing to note is that RWBY's finales always have a stinger after the credits. So I'm wondering what that's going to be this time. If I had to guess, it would probably be Salem arriving in Atlas. That would make the most sense to me, because the stinger of the last volume, of Volume 6, was her heading out with her flying monkeys, ready to start doing things herself. So having her arriving in Atlas as the stinger at the end of the credits in this one would make sense. It would be a natural progression of that, as well as what we saw of her just at the other episode in this volume. So yeah. I'm very excited, though. The big issue with Team RWBY fighting off the Aesops and stuff, though, I do want to say this real quick. The big issue with all of that and what they're doing and all, while they're doing what's right, for sure, Ironwood, with his messed up state of mind at the moment, isn't going to see it that way. And he's probably going to see this as kind of a just blatant betrayal. And maybe even at worst, what's the word for it? Not a coup. That's not the right word. But he's going to see it as them, like, abandoning Atlas and stuff, and he's going to see them as enemies of the city and whatnot. And that's, I feel, like, the worst possible option. Because right now, he just sees them as allies who are just making the wrong decision, even though he's the one making the wrong decision. That's why he was only going to lock them up until after the plan went through. But yeah, it's just, I don't know. I want Ironwood to see the error of his ways here, the error of his thoughts and everything, and of his viewpoints on all of this. But I just don't think it's going to happen this volume, and I honestly don't think it should. I feel like that'd be a little too quick, personally. But we'll see. We'll see what happens. So yeah, I'm excited, and we're going to get into this, so I don't have to hold off anymore because of my nervousness at where this is going to end as a volume. So when the screen fades to black, pause this redirect and go to the description below. Follow the link to the reaction, and after you watch it, come back here to the redirect and resume play. Because after it fades black and then fades back in, everything from that point forward will be my afterthoughts and will contain spoilers to the episode. So that being said, thank you so much for tuning in, and I will see you at the reaction. I think I did that wrong, but oh well. And we are back, and we'll begin with spoilers in 3, 2, 1, now. So yeah, there was no stinger in this episode, no post-credit stinger, and that's unusual because it's the first time we haven't had one. And I'm a little mixed because I think the Salem arriving at Atlas should have been a post-credit stinger. Having it before the credits, I feel like just wasn't as impactful as if it was saved till afterwards. But the only reason I can think of the reason they did it this way is because at the end of the credits, they did show that tribute to Monty Ohm. And it was like, "We Still Love You," and all of that jazz. And the thing is, for those who may not know, this past Saturday, when first, and what the fuck is going on with my camera? There we go. When this episode was released on Rooster Teeth First, that was actually the anniversary of Monty's death. And so they, I presume, wanted to line it up so that it ended on that tribute rather than having it end on something else. You know what I mean? I still think they could have ended it on the tribute, but just have that like be an after screen following the stinger. But I can kind of see why they would have done that now. This episode can just be titled "Shit Happens," and while there are some resolutions, not everything is fully resolved. The Maiden. So we get the resolution with the Maiden storyline. The previous Winter Maiden wakes up, kind of goes crazy protecting the Maiden powers, but because Penny helps calm her down, the Maiden transfers her power to Penny. and Penny becomes the new Winter Maiden, which is something I had not even considered. Because, let's be honest, I didn't know if Penny even could get something like that, with her being an android. So it's like, I really wouldn't have thought she even could, but I guess since she does have part of a living soul within her, part of Pietro's aura and all, that's enough. And this kind of goes in line with the entire thought process that even though she is an android, Penny is just as human as any of us. Meanwhile, Neo manages to escape with the lantern. So Neo and Cinder, while failing to get the Maiden powers, which pissed Cinder the hell off, which I like, because anything that pisses Cinder off is just candy to me, they did manage to get the relic, which is very bad, obviously. And then there's the entire thing with Ren, and that wasn't really resolved. Ren kind of had a breakdown, but nothing ever came of it yet, and I feel that's definitely going to continue into next volume. Ren's continued stresses and issues and all of that. And then there's Ozpin. As I mentioned in the pre-thoughts, I wanted Ozpin to return by the end of this volume, and he did. Not quite in the way I expected, because in order for Ozpin to return, Oscar had to first be shot off of a cliff by Ironwood. And it's like, prior to this, I was still kind of on the bandwagon that Ironwood could still be redeemed. And now, based on that action, that's, in my eyes, an irredeemable action. To shoot a kid, no matter who the kid happens to be. And on top of that, just from a story perspective, with this and with the fact that, Ironwood's plan failed for a lot of the part with Penny getting the Maiden powers and leaving and all that, I definitely think that this is going to lead to, in the end, Ironwood is going to die. He's going to die, and he's going to die most likely without having fully redeemed himself. He might do one last act of good in the end, but it's not going to redeem all that he's done in this volume, especially at the end here. He's going to die for his actions, for everything that he's done that he has caused. And it's ironic that he was saying that Oscar wasn't looking at the big picture when that's actually him who wasn't looking at the big picture. So yeah, but Oscar unlocked his semblance while he was falling, which Ozpin might have helped with, but Oscar definitely was the one who activated, who definitely did it. And his semblance, at least I assume that was his semblance, he at least used it to create this green force field. Now, I don't know if we ever actually saw Ozpin use his semblance, but I don't know if it's the same semblance. I remember there being a lot of green effects and stuff when he was fighting Cinder in Volume 3. But I don't know if we ever actually saw his semblance. I do... Actually, now that I think about it, I do think we saw, this green sphere in that battle. So maybe it is the same semblance, actually, now that I think about it. But in that case, Oscar has remained behind, and he, with the now reawakened Ozpin, are going to work on fixing this and fighting back. While everyone else has left. Pietro and Maria got a getaway ship, picked up everyone, and everyone's gone. All of Team RWBY, the rest of Team Orange, Penny's with them. And yeah, what are they? They're just abandoning Atlas to Salem at this point, or are they going to turn around and try to fight still? Because if they just abandon Atlas to Salem, that's a little fucked up. Yeah, I don't know, but it's kind of I feel like they might have done this to kind of give that the complete polar opposite of what happened at the very beginning of this volume. Because at the beginning, our team are heading to Atlas and Mantle in the ship. At the end, they're leaving in the ship. And at the beginning, when they're heading there, it's kind of like there's this, I wouldn't say calm and nice kind of feeling to it, but there's definitely a safer, more like just protective feeling to Atlas at that point. But at the end, there's also everything has gone to shit. So it's like they were trying to make it come across as just the opposite of the beginning to show how far everything has fallen and shit. So yeah, that's fun. That's interesting. We'll see how it goes. We will see how it goes. Also, Crow and Robin are arrested. So that's also a thing. So they didn't leave either. That's another thing to take into account. Because that's another thing. If our heroes leave and just go, they're abandoning both Oscar and Crow. RWBY would not abandon Crow. That would not happen. And I don't think any of them would want to abandon Oscar. I think they're just trying to get out of there for the moment and maybe plan something for the future or something. I don't know. But with Salem now arriving, with the Queen having arrived in Atlas, I don't think they're going to be able to leave. At least they shouldn't, considering the situation. But yeah. At this point, I really don't think it would be a good idea to redeem Ironwood, and I don't think that he's really redeemable at this point. I think the only logical route in terms of where this could go story-wise and character-wise would be for him to die. And again, maybe he pulls off one last act of good in the end doing so. Maybe even his death is a self-sacrifice. But I think he needs to die from a story and character perspective. And I think it needs to happen without him fully redeeming himself, because I think that's just the only real option here. And at that point, I would think that like Winter would probably be the best option to take over for him, but I don't know for sure who would be next in line. But we'll have to see. We'll have to see where this goes next volume, which will probably come out in October, maybe November, somewhere around then. But yeah, it's just like this volume was just insane. It definitely continued the trend of each volume being better than the last. And this ending, it's just like it's just like with Volume 3. Everything has gone to shit, and it's not ending on a good note at all. Except Volume 3 ended a little more hopeful, with RWBY and Team Junior heading out on the next step of their journey. So it was a little more hopeful. But this one is like worse. Like, no joke. This ending is worse. It's more dire. It's more insane. It's more just horrible with what's going on. Especially with Salem actively arriving with this, not only with flying monkeys, she's on a fucking grim whale. A flying grim whale. And she's ready to basically fuck shit up, and it's like, oh, this is bad. I am definitely predicting, though, that with Ozpin now having awakened, that something is going to come of that next volume. There is going to be a confrontation between Salem and Ozpin. So that's going to be interesting. But yeah, definitely this was the most like horrifying kind of ending we've had in this show. And I think that's a good thing because of how far everything has come with this story. I think it's good, and I think it's important to see where it's all come to see that it ends on such a bad note. I think that it helps just show how big of a deal this is and how far this series has changed in a good way. that it's become something that it should always have meant to be. I worded that terribly. It's become something that it always feels like it was meant to be, that it always feels like it was gearing to be. And yeah, it's just, this is exactly the kind of stuff I want to see with this series. And it really helps nail it in that this is one of my favorite shows of all time when you do stuff like this. But yeah, it's just like, I really can't wait to see where this goes next volume. As I've said, though, so with RWBY Volume 7 over, we are not filling its space with anything else. We are going back to 4 slots only. And the reasoning for this is pretty simple. It's just saving time and energy, and so it's like there's not as much going on to just overwhelm me. Because we originally only had 4 slots, and I only added the 5th one for RWBY. So it's like I don't really feel the need to keep it going at this point. But yeah, so we're gonna go back down to 4 slots. I'll change the channel banner as I need to, as quick as I can, and we'll go from there. In the meantime, tell me what you thought of this final episode of RWBY Volume 7. What did you think of Cinder and Neo getting away with the relic, but the Maiden powers going to Penny, of all characters? What do you think of the fact that that Ironwood has officially become irredeemable and is definitely one of the major bad guys of this volume, alongside Tyrion and Watts? What do you think of Winter choosing to let them go, giving them a head start, but at the same time still remaining blindly loyal to Ironwood? And of course, what do you think of the end with Big Bad Queen Salem arriving on the horizon? Tell me your thoughts on all of that and more in the comments below, and thank you so much for tuning in to another season of RWBY Reactions. You can bet your ass I will be reacting to Volume 8 when that comes out. For now, though, I'm Connie, and I'm signing off. See you all next time.